Oh, please say it ain't so, Joey. Joey, please. Joey, please say it ain't so. Bro, what in the Lawrence Fishburne is going on with our entertainers and our OGs? What is going on? Now, I'm out and about, minding my business, hitting the grocery store to pick up some asparagus. And what do I get hit? Right in the notifications, right here on the phone, right here. Fat Joe sued for $20 million by former hype man in explosive complaint. Alleges rapper engaged in sex acts with minors and coerced him into more than 4,000 sexual acts to maintain his standing. Oh boy, what is going on? It wasn't just Diddy running the city, apparently. And the subtitle says lawsuit comes after the rapper sued T.A. Dixon April for slandering him on social media by claiming Fat Joe flew a 16-year-old girl across state lines for sex. So it's a back and forth between the two. So here we go. Fat Joe's former hype man, Terrence T.A. Dixon, has filed an explosive lawsuit in federal court against the rapper on Thursday. Dixon is alleging that his former boss, whose real name is Joseph Antonio Cartagena, engaged in coercive labor exploitation, financial fraud, and sexual manipulation, violent intimidation, and psychological coercion. Wow, it's a lot of coercion there. Dixon adds that the hip hop star behind such chart toppers, stop saying hip variety. Let me stop real quick. Let me take this sip of this ginger ale right quick, right fast. Clear my throat. Variety. I ain't gonna let you get that off on one of our legends. All right. Fat Joe has been in the game for over 30 years. All right. You're not gonna just call him some rap hip hop star. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna just compare him to one of the littles out there. He's a legend. So I would have preferred you change star with legend. All right. I continue. Behind such chart toppers as What's Love, got rich and famous while he and his associates deliberately suppressed, silenced, and erased Dixon's substantial artistic, and commercial contributions, which were foundational to Fat Joe's professional success and personal brand. He is seeking up to $20 million in damages. All right, let me stop there. This is getting messy. So TA, and if you're a Fat Joe fan, Terror Squad fan, this is deep stuff because TA has been a real close associate of Fat Joe's for quite some time. And Fat Joe, me being on the East Coast, we know Fat Joe. Fat Joe, he's Cartagena, Don Cartagena, as he likes to call himself. Like he usually runs a tight knit group around, what I'm saying, with himself, and he carries himself with loyal dudes, So to see this come out, it's crazy, what I'm saying? It's like a foundational crack in his structure, and his structure is usually sound, So I'm gonna continue with the article. The complaint filed in U.S. District Court, Southern District of New York, details so many disturbing claims about Fat Joe's alleged sexual relations with women, including minors, that it contains a trigger warning on the first page of 157-page document. Okay, so for 16 years, Dixon served as Fat Joe's so-called hype man, common figure in hip hop. All right, right. He's a hype man. He's the guy that, fill in the blanks and do the ad libs. All right. I hate, no disrespect, but I don't like when white publications try to talk about our culture. It's so, because they can't help themselves. It sounds so white. You know what I'm saying? You got to explain what a hype man is. Hip hop's been out for 40 plus years, 50 years now, actually. 50 plus years. If you don't know what a hype man is, Jesus Christ, you need to, do some self-reflection. But anyway, also contributor to lyrics is background vocalist, yada, yada, yada. They're still continuing. Dixon is represented by, let's get this one, Tyrone Blackburn, who is also the lead counsel in a high-profile case against Sean Diddy Combs. In February 2024, Blackburn filed a lawsuit on behalf of Diddy, accuser Little Rodney, a.k.a. Little Rod. Little Rod. Yeah. Alleged sexual assault, sexual harassment, and failure to pay his underling. 1 month later, Department of Homeland Security agents conducted raids at Combs' mansions in Los Angeles and Miami. So he has hired the legal services of the same guy that went after Diddy. So listen, man, before I continue on to this through this article, entertainers out there, especially you OGs, you got to start cleaning up your act. All the little shit you did in the past, or whatever the case may be, whatever little mole you think you may have in your crew, you better clean it up now, because it is open season on y'all asses. They gonna put cases all on all you mother effers. They ain't playing no more. Everybody's coming to collect. And from the looks of it, this is what started with Diddy. Now, I don't know the significance of what Joe has been doing, but listen, Joe's been around just as long as Diddy. And Joe is connected to the streets. So his level of, improprieties is a lot different. You know what I'm saying? So, man, this could be potentially even more explosive. It could go beyond this. Hopefully it doesn't. But yeah, it looks like it's open season. And right now, our hip hop moguls, our hip hop legends are the marks right now. Let's just face it. The same guy, Blackburn, that lawyer Blackburn, this won't be the last one that he'll be a part of as far as civil suit. It's open cases on everybody right now. It's clear as day. Hip hop artists are targets right now. It's obvious. But, now these claims are out in the surface. We'll see what Fat Joe has to say. I mean, the guy literally just dropped a podcast episode where he was sitting with Jim Jones, and of course his co-host Jadakiss. He literally just dropped the pod episode, and this is dropping on his head the next day. I wonder if they're going to do any more episodes. That'll be interesting, right? But Dixon states in the complaint that Fat Joe forced him into humiliating situations, including sex acts performed under duress and surveillance, and accompanied by threats of abandonment in foreign countries if he refused compliance, excuse me. Man, that sounds like Joe was ruling with an iron fist. So the article continues by saying, by his own estimation, Dixon states in the suit that he was coerced into more than 4,000 sexual acts to maintain his standing within the enterprise. So let me get this straight. When he was having all this great, over-the-top times of his lives with all kinds of women all over the world, because, Fat Joe travels, he's all over the place in Greece or whatever, and you've indulged in this activity with him for 16 years. And now that you guys have a friction, all of those acts now become coerced acts. Man, this is interesting. The article continues by saying, most shockingly, the suit claims that Dixon personally witnessed Fat Joe engage in sexual relations with children who are 15 and 16 years old, and lists 3 such Jane Does, including 16-year-old Dominican girl in New York, who in exchange for cash, clothing, and payment of her cell phone bill would perform oral sex and other sexual acts on the rapper. Minor Doe 2 is a Caucasian female and not a United States citizen. Ugh. Fat Joe began having sexual relations with minor Doe 2 when she was 15 years old after concert overseas. Defendant flew minor 2 to the New York City in Miami, Florida, on multiple occasions due to minor two's body being adolescent and not fully formed. Defendant paid for her to get a Brazilian butt lift. Minor Doe 2 eventually left the defendant and is now married to a professional athlete. The complaint also says, the complaint says, so she left him and ended up getting married to a professional athlete. So, I mean, she was taken advantage of because she was young, but she was kind of treated lavishly. And when she was taken advantage of, then she ended up with another rich person athlete to then take advantage of her, I guess. I don't know. Interesting stuff. So it continues. There's another minor. Doe 3 is a Latina female who met the defendant when she was 15 years old, turning 16. According to Dixon, defendant was in love with minor Doe 3. He even contemplated leaving his wife. The defendant paid all minor Doe 3's bills and even took her overseas to his tour stops. He brought her to Florida and would put her up in a condo he rented a few blocks from his house with his wife, the lawsuit states. In a recorded conversation, minor Doe 3 and her 15-year-old cousin describe in detail to plaintiff how inappropriate it was for defendant, who was in his late 30s at the time, to be fawning over children. Ugh. This is bad. The more you read it, the worse it seems to get. Fat Joe is represented by celebrity criminal attorney Joe Tacopina, who has defended everyone from A$AP Rocky and Donald Trump in high-profile cases. Tacopina responded to the lawsuit, saying in a statement to Variety, the lawsuit filed by Tyrone Blackburn and Terrence Dixon is a blatant act of retaliation, a desperate attempt to deflect attention from the civil suit we filed first, which exposed their coordinated scheme to extort Mr. Cartagena through lies, threats, and manufactured allegations. Law enforcement is aware, this is quoted, this is a quote in a statement. Law enforcement is aware of the extortionate demand at the heart of the scheme. The allegations against Mr. Cartagena are complete fabrications, lies intended to damage his reputation and force a settlement through public pressure. Mr. Cartagena will not be intimidated. We have taken legal action to expose this fraudulent campaign and hold everyone involved accountable, the statement continued. So it says, continues, defendants in the suit also include Pistol Pete, Torres, Richard Rich, Player, Jaspreter, I'm butchering names, I'm sorry, who the complaint refers to as key associates of Fat Joe's criminal enterprise, asserting civil claims for violations of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act and the Racketeering Influence and Corruptions Act, also known as Civil RICO. It goes unjust enrichment, quantum merit, fraudulent concealment, fraud, intentional conflict of emotional distress. So they're just putting all this stuff together that what would constitute as, in violation of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act and the RICO Act. Again, all Diddy related shit here. This is like, man, this is kind of the beginnings of what took Diddy down. So this ain't looking good for him. But it says the suit additionally names Jay-Z's Rock Nation, claiming that the company which represents Fat Joe knowingly participated in concealing, transferring, and manipulating Dixon's authorship rights and royalty interests and sought to intimidate, harass, and obstruct the hype man's legitimate claims against Fat Joe, Torres, and Jaspretti. I hope I got his name right. Okay, according to the lawsuit, this is going on and on and on here. Hold on. This is the right way to fight Joe through the system. Dixon is talking about him going through the system. I'm going to kind of skim through this because this is not hard copy TV here. I just wanted to talk about this explosive news about Fat Joe, man. All right, so It continues on about, the liabilities. It looks like you guys can read along here. I'm sorry, this is on camera, but also we're recording because I'm reading this on camera. So yeah, it's saying that. All right, it continues in this part here. It says Dixon's suit against Fat Joe goes much further than his social media posts and states that he endured a wide spectrum of, this is in quotes, a wide spectrum of sexual coercion, psychological control, force, exhibitionism, and surveillance based humiliation, including being compelled to perform sex acts under observation, being filmed or directed by Fat Joe in the presence of others. Tactics designed to control plaintiff's body, erode his autonomy, and assure silence. It adds, these sex-based abuses were not private, incidental, or isolated. They were integral to the enterprise's culture of dominance and humiliation enforced by the defendant's associates such as Pistol Pete, JB, and others, and sustained across numerous tour locations, including Miami, North Carolina, Germany, Spain, and Wisconsin. Man, that's not just random names that they're places that they're pulling out. They could have named any goddamn state. We got over 50 of them. So they got specific places, locations. So it goes up. It continues. There's more. In Thursday's complaint, Dixon claims that the activity took place on Market America's corporate yacht and at its mansion properties where Fat Joe orchestrated repeated orgies involving plaintiff female dancers and minors, defendant used. The lawsuit adds that Fat Joe used his status as hip-hop star to compel Dixon and others into degrading sexual performances, often while Joe watched, recorded, or directed the encounters. Jesus. What is with these dudes who want to watch, direct, and do all of this stuff? Like, does all of these guys with power have this obsession with sex acts? Like they want to be like porno star directors. Like they want to be Larry Flint or some shit. Like, I don't get it. Like they really want to direct. Why don't they just get into the porno business? Like, why are you doing all of this nasty, underhanded, underworld garbage when you can do it legally in the freaking adult entertainment biz? I don't understand it. Like, these dudes are so nasty that they refuse to show people. That's what it is. They refuse to show people they freak, because it's a mask. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're wearing a mask to hide the freak. You know what I'm saying? Instead of engaging in and embracing they freak and bringing it to the world in a creative way that is healthy for themselves, but also healthy for others if you are harming others, because this is sounding like some crazy shit the more you read it. I don't know what the hell is going on with these guys. Like, it's some nasty stuff going on. But again, Joe is like around Diddy's age. These dudes, it was a different time, man. These dudes just kind of came up New York City, just doing whatever. And who gonna tell them what? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm trying to see here, speed along, abandonment. I mean, it's the whole nine. So it goes, the suit claims that Fat Joe also issued vile death threats and witness intimidation via direct messages such as, quote, "You love your family, right? Quote, fall back in 48 hours. And, quote, we let you live." Though Fat Joe hobnobbed with some of the biggest names. What the hell is hobnobbed variety? Really? Hobnobbed. You could have just said, though Fat Joe hung out with some of the biggest names. Nah, you wanted to sound smart. Again, this is what happens when you have white publications talking about our business. But that's another topic, y'all. That's a voice junkie topic for another day. But though Fat Joe hobnobbed with some of the biggest names in politics, including then Vice President Kamala Harris, there was at least one brush with scandal back in 2010. He and members of his entourage were detained and questioned after a University of Wisconsin student reported an alleged sexual assault following a performance at the city's Youth Orpheum Theater. At the time, Fat Joe's attorney called the woman a pretender groupie who was attempting to shake down the rapper for money. Now as I read that, 2010, okay, University of Wisconsin. Now, Dixon, TA, was talking about the places that he claimed, the locations. One of the locations happens to be Wisconsin. So there is smoke to that fire. I mean, there's fire somewhere and smoke is leading you to that fire. You know what I'm saying? Not everything is false. There's some truths in here. The thing is, Joe's attorney is going to have to earn his money, and he's going to have to put a lot of reasonable doubt out there. Because me just reading this and, piecing some of it together, and I said it off jump, reading through it, the locations, just having specific locations the way he had them, this was kind of odd to me. Like, oh, maybe, if you went through some shit, you gonna remember the instances. And Fat Joe tours the world, so he remembers specific places. And as I just read, he did have an incident. Fat Joe speaking, he had an incident at the University of Wisconsin, alleging some underhanded shit that never came to about. But in TA's suit, one of the places where he's having issue was in Wisconsin. Oh boy. This ain't looking good at all. We've seen this movie before. It doesn't end well. So I don't know what kind of things that Joe may have on TA or what, but for him to be kind of just, now he did say that the article did say he did file and, he filed his personal suit against TA in April, quote unquote, getting ahead of things. But that's just a power move too, man. It's like, yo, I got the money, man. You ain't got the money that I got. So if I put the pressure on you and letting you know that I'm suing you first, he's guessing like, yo, you're not going to have the audacity to come out against me, whatever you may have. So this is this ain't good, bruh. This ain't good. I'm definitely going to have my eyes and ears open to this, because I'm not going to just take whatever TA's saying as false. You got to put a little grain of salt on there. You know what I'm saying? Again, like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire. And it's just a little crazy to me for Joe to be running around like he's been running around, knowing that this potential thing was hanging over his head. That's arrogance 101. Every single guy that's like this person, and period, let's take guy off of it, but typically it's men. Every single person in this type of power position, and especially if they've been in that power position for the majority of their life, they have these moments. They have these moments of just supreme arrogance, and like nothing could ever happen wrong to them. Like for him to be just running around, going to the Knicks games and just starting a whole brand new podcast, going at it with other podcasters, and just having the time of his life, knowing that this was hanging over his head is just a little bizarre. So it's extreme hubris, yo, especially when we seen what we saw with Diddy and what we're seeing now with Shannon Sharpe as well, with the little white girl. Man, these dudes gonna learn. They gonna learn, man. It is open season for all of you know what's. You know what I'm saying? I advise y'all, like Naomi from the WB said, I advise y'all to move with caution.